Hello everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Watch my video and subscribe my channel. Did Grace fake Liam's cancer bombshell? Bold and the Beautiful shows Liam Spencer unexpectedly cured of his deadly cancer thanks to Dr. Grace Buckingham. But was this all a con? And did Grace fake Liam's cancer? As absurd as it may seem, we're going to lay out for you how and why Grace might have set up a false cancer scam from the outset. I know there have been some questions regarding Liam's condition. Really kind of started since Grace began getting those strange calls and texts. But now, this truly has legs. This whole brain tumor thing might have been a long con to win a large payday, and Bill Spencer might have just gotten taken for $1 million. Not that he can't afford it, and honestly, she could have asked for a lot more. But let's dig in. I've got all kinds of receipts for you. Bold and the Beautiful. Finn looks suspicious. So Finn Finnegan seemed pretty suspicious on Friday when Bill said they got Liam's MRI back, and after this experimental procedure, the tumor's gone. There are distinct margins, so there shouldn't be any regrowth. But Finn appeared astonished, borderline skeptical, and stated it wasn't just a medical miracle for Liam, but it was making medical history since this is an incurable brain tumor, malignant tumor, now purportedly gone. Honestly, I didn't believe it was going to turn out to be a phony illness, but after I went back and I looked at all of Grace's past episodes today, she hasn't had a ton, and I looked at every single one of them. And I'm going to show you guys these warning signals. The question, of course, is if she did fake Liam's cancer, had she pulled it off? And was this a crime of opportunity or something more sinister? Timeline of suspicious events surrounding Liam Spencer's cancer diagnosis and treatment. So, all this started when Liam had a dizzy spell after he had that big confrontation with Bill. That was April 2nd, and I was actually looking back to see if it started on April Fool's Day, because that would have been sort of amusing. But it was April 2nd. Still, the next day, April 3rd, that's when Liam collapsed. He banged his head on the coffee table, and there was that enormous pool of blood, and then, he crawled outside. Steffi Forrester discovered Liam. She got him to the hospital. That was when Grace first got involved with Liam's medical issue on April 4th. Everything that happened up to that moment, I think, was probably legit. He flatlined in the ER, and Grace had surgery on Liam for a brain bleed. And that absolutely was medically legit. Then it was a couple weeks later on April 18th. That was the next time we saw Grace. And she told Bridget Forrester and Finn that Liam had brain cancer, and it was an incurable tumor. Bold and the Beautiful. Where is the oncology team? So the question is, did Grace notice a tiny something in Liam's head when she did the operation, or she saw nothing but the brain bleed, and then she thought about it for a couple of weeks and was like, yeah, I'm going to do something here. Grace mentioned that there was a neuro team, but we've never seen them. Liam's cancer case has been fully controlled by Grace, who's a cardiologist instead of an oncologist. Those are all warning indicators. Then a few days later, on April 21st, Grace made a call in front of Bridget confirming Liam's diagnosis. That may be a big fat call to nobody, but just was a performance for Bridget. Then Grace was off-screen for an entire month as he got this frightening cancer. Gone for a month. She was back then on May 21st and told Liam that there were treatments that could give him extra time. And Grace mentioned radiation and chemo, and she was pressing Liam to accept these treatments, and she said it was urgent. But insane enough with the haste and the dangerous cancer, we went all the way from May 21st to July 3rd. Way more than a month, like over 6 weeks, until she got back. And that's when Grace told Finn that Liam truly needed to do this treatment. And that's when Grace started also getting the weird calls and texts. Bold and the Beautiful. Plot twist planned? So the next day, July 4th, Finn told Grace he knew she was under stress with her daughters and her ex-husband. To be honest, I'm not even 100% clear if Bold and the Beautiful started this plot out as a false sickness, or maybe it started out true and decided along the road to pivot to some sort of twist since viewers were complaining. All they were doing was redoing Eric Forrester's cancer narrative. Because I'm not certain that Bold genuinely knows what they're doing from the get-go. And I definitely have seen them shift directions. I guess we all have. So Liam was shot by Luna Nozawa, and he came into the ER on July 9th. Grace was attempting to be the one to operate on Liam, but Finn was like, no, it can't wait. And he took Liam into surgery. She didn't like that. Grace wound up lopping off the rest of Sheila Carter's bullet toe that Luna hit. Bringing her down to 8 little piggies. But also during Sheila's operation, Grace kept instructing the staff to be sure and keep her updated on Liam. Grace was intensely focused on Liam. Bold and the beautiful. Grace takes a turn? That carried over onto the July 10th program when she was again asking about Liam. Then July 14th, Grace came in to examine Liam after he had the surgery for the gunshot when he was still out of it. Hope Logan and Steffi Forrester were there and Bridget joined, but Grace initially persuaded Hope and Steffi to move out of the room while she checked on Liam. And then Grace convinced Bridget to go be with her family. All very unusual that she sent another doctor away to contrive to be alone with him. Once Grace was alone with Liam, she was hysterical and saying that they can't lose him. At that time, I assume it was Grace fretting about losing whatever this payout was. Bold and the beautiful. Mystery doctor doesn't participate? So the next day, July 15th, Grace eavesdropped on Bill and stated while he was telling Liam, who was still comatose, that he would do anything to save him. That was before Liam woke up from the gunshot surgery. So Grace eavesdropped, and then she came and told Bill about this incredible experimental procedure and that it was incredibly expensive, but it could save Liam's life. And of course, Bill jumped at it. She worked this out perfectly. Then Grace transferred Liam out of the hospital over to the private clinic. And then on July 16th, that was when Grace and this mysterious doctor executed this treatment to get rid of the inoperable tumor in Liam's head. Now, this other doctor was supposedly this specialist that she had flown in for the procedure, but we never saw that guy touch Liam. It was Grace that requested for the scalpel, and it was her that chopped into Liam's head. So that's the timeline, of all these episodes. But since Grace was only on Bold and the Beautiful here and there, and not consistently, it was kind of hard to get the overall picture. But then when I went today and I looked at her complete episode list, and I went through the recaps of every episode to compile this list, I was like, all right. Analyzing Grace Buckingham's role and possible motives in the alleged fake cancer scheme. And here's the other thing. Because Liam had a history of concussions, which we've observed throughout the years. He collapsed on the flight when he was on to Australia, and then he struck his head again, and that's when he had that amnesia thing with the entire Adam and Eve, and so with Quinn Fuller. So certainly, the dizziness at Bill's that day may have been from an old injury or anything else. That's readily explained. Maybe Liam was having an anxiety attack, a panic attack from the stress of that dreadful disagreement with Bill. And that's why he became dizzy and just lost it for a second. And Liam bashed his head on Bill's coffee table. And it presented an opportunity for a woman who's starving for money. When Grace completed the surgery for the brain bleed, I think that's when she started to see dollar signs. I mean, this might have been a totally fictitious tumor in Liam's head that Grace absolutely manufactured. Or she built a mountain out of a molehill and maybe there was a minor thing in his skull, maybe some scar tissue or anything, something, but there didn't have to actually be anything. And I will add this, if you remember, Liam has had major signs that we have noticed over the past couple of months. Those ran from the moment when Grace revealed he had brain cancer up until this remarkable procedure. But I can clarify that for you too. Bold and the Beautiful, medication madness. A couple times during this period, we noticed Liam take medication that Grace prescribed him. And on Bold and the Beautiful, everybody receives their meds from the hospital pharmacy, not the CVS down the street from them, because that's where Hope goes to acquire Beth's allergy meds. We've seen this before. I specifically recall it. And Liam showed bottles. So, I assume Grace utilized pharmaceutical bottles that had his name and cancer meds, pain relief medications, anything that would be usual for somebody with that illness. But I think if this is accurate, and again, this is not a spoiler, this is me thinking this is what's happening. It's my really firm theory. But I assume inside Liam's medicine bottles were different drugs, ones that truly cause the symptoms of weakness and lethargy and disorientation. There's plenty of medicines that Grace might have used off-label to induce Liam's problems. Like if you take blood pressure medication when you have normal blood pressure, it can make you dizzy. It can make you weary. There's loads of pharmacological alternatives that may be used to cause what we were witnessing with Liam. Bold and the Beautiful. Grace switches brain scans? If this really is a scam, I suspect Grace drugged Liam with drugs that wouldn't kill him, but would induce worrisome symptoms that would simulate cancer growth to push towards Grace earning a miracle cure payment. She might have meant all along to pitch some sort of off-the-books miracle therapy directly to Liam, but then when he was shot and she eavesdropped on Bill Spencer, she concluded, "Oh, okay. He's a greater mark for the scam since he's got more money and he's desperate." And honestly, Grace could have asked Bill Spencer for $5 million. She could have asked him for $10 million, and he probably would have been like, "Okay, here you go. Save Liam. Cost be damned." As for the brain scans, I can explain that to you. I suspect if this is all phony, Grace utilized scans from an actual brain cancer sufferer and just placed Liam's name on them. Grace may have showed bogus scans, falsified lab tests to Bridget and Finn because, again, never seen a neuro team, never seen an oncologist. Bold and the Beautiful. Miracle surgery a massive lie? And I think the miracle surgery on Liam was a major bait and switch. I genuinely feel the Dr. Grace brought in wasn't even a doctor. Maybe an actor or some loser friend of her terrible ex-husband, baby, snatching Dr. Reese Buckingham. I suppose they shaved a tiny piece of Liam's hair. Grace sliced just the surface of his scalp and then stitched it straight back up. And then they stood there, I don't know, playing Wordle on their phone or something for an hour to make Bill think there was actually surgery going on. I don't think they even busted through Liam's skull and hit his gray matter. That's what I think. So, it's also why Grace would feel okay letting Liam go home to Bill Spencer's house with monitors and a home nurse, because the only true operation that Liam is probably healing from right now is that original bullet surgery. And the last MRI that Grace talked about, the one showing the tumor suddenly gone, it might be a true MRI showing Liam's actual healthy brain, aside from the bleed she healed or another false swindle. You know, and I could be entirely wrong about Grace. Maybe Liam did experience a medical miracle, but I'm highly suspicious. And I feel about as suspicious as Finn does about all this. Bold and the Beautiful. Grace desperate? Maybe Grace was desperate for money. She thought no harm, no foul because she was lying. She didn't infect Liam with an illness or whatever, and Bill could afford it. So in Grace's mentality, maybe she thought it was a victimless crime. What I'm really curious to see is whether Finn begins asking questions if Grace panics and just runs out of the country with Bill's money. Clearly, Grace needed the cash for some purpose. Maybe she needs to help someone out of trouble, her ex-Reese, something like that. And she used half of it to aid them and then kept the rest to finance a fresh start somewhere new. If Grace did this thing and faked Liam cancer, I can't say for certain why she did it, but clearly the calls and texts. And of course, just to be totally clear, I can't even claim at this moment 100% that Grace truly did fake Liam's cancer. But I'm saying there are enough red flags here to conduct a halftime show. We'll see how it goes. But that's my theory. That's all the proof I've laid out for you. There's loads of receipts. It is July sweeps, so I expect a huge disclosure concerning Liam, and probably also about Grace. Watch and see. Finn searches for answers as Liam's still dying. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers for next week reveal Dr. John Finnegan will have a bad feeling about Liam Spencer's black market brain operation, and he will begin asking questions. Did Grace Buckingham do something dirty during Liam's surgery? Keep reading to find out. Here's what's going next on Bold and Beautiful. Spoilers down below. Next week on the CBS soap, Bill Spencer will update Liam's friends and family. Steffi Forrester and Hope Logan will be happy when they learn that Liam's hidden brain tumor operation was a success, but Dr. Finn isn't believing it. Grace's surgery isn't adding up. Finn understands a lot more about cancer and tumor removal than Hope and Steffi, or even Bill Spencer for that matter. The good doctor will be puzzled when Dollar Bill claims he rescued the day and paid Dr. Buckingham to remove his son's tumor. Red flag number 1 is Finn already knew the tumor was inoperable. Grace is a doctor, not a miracle worker. Plus, anyone in the medical industry can tell you that no one gets sent home to recover less than an hour following brain surgery. The prospects of Liam even surviving being moved thus soon are close to none. Finn searches for answers about Liam. Bold and beautiful spoilers indicate Finn is on the case and wants to get to the bottom of what happened to Liam while he was in surgery. Is it feasible that Grace didn't take anything and lied and told Bill she did in exchange for $1 million? Or even worse, did she do some irreparable damage during the risky surgery?